You've noticed him, that charismatic man that stands out in the crowd, the one that seems to get all the attention. Well, what if that man was you and you didn't even know it? There are psychological signs that a man is genuinely handsome. And the interesting part is, the less aware you are, the stronger these reactions usually become. And they start before anyone even speaks. So let's get into it. Sign number one: people look at you and then quickly look away. One of the first signs that happens is visual, and it's subtle enough that it's easy to misunderstand. You'll occasionally catch someone looking at you, but the moment eye contact happens, they immediately look away, adjust something, or suddenly become busy with their phone. From your perspective, it feels like you did something wrong because the reaction looks almost like avoidance. Psychologically, though, the opposite is happening. Humans naturally pay more attention to faces they perceive as attractive. Research tells us that people visually fixate longer on attractive faces without even intending to. The second they realize they've been staring, self-awareness kicks in and they disengage quickly to avoid being obvious. So what you experience is a loop: attention followed by withdrawal. To you, it might feel negative, but to the other person, it's actually the self-consciousness that they've been staring. And once someone consistently triggers that kind of automatic attention, people don't just look differently at them, they start behaving differently around them too. Sign number two: people are unusually friendly to you. After the visual attention comes the social treatment. Some men seem to move through daily life with strangers being unexpectedly cooperative. Cashiers smile a bit more, people forgive small mistakes, and conversations start without effort. Because it feels normal to him, he assumes everyone experiences the same thing. In psychology, though, this is called the halo effect. When someone is perceived as attractive, others subconsciously assume personality traits like kindness and intelligence before any real interaction happens. In other words, people respond positively to attractive people before learning who they actually are. For example, imagine two people walk into a store and both ask the employee where something is. One gets a quick answer like checkout 6. But when you ask the question and suddenly the employee smiles, walks over to you and says, "It's right here. Let me know if you need anything else." You didn't say anything different. You weren't more polite, but the reaction was warmer before they knew you at all. That's the halo effect in real life. People treat you as if they already like you, even though they just met you. That's why the reactions feel easy but are confusing. Because people feel more positive towards you, they also pay closer attention to what you say, which leads to a sign that tends to puzzle men the most. Sign number three: women remember details you forgot saying. You have a short conversation at work, nothing deep or memorable from your perspective. But weeks later, she recalls specifics, your interest, a small story, even something random you mentioned in passing. Think about this. You mentioned you like a certain band and that you're trying to start going to the gym more consistently during a conversation with a coworker. You barely remember saying anything. But 2 weeks later, you run into her again and she says, "Did you ever check out that new album?" Or, "How is the gym going?" You pause because you don't even remember telling her that. From your point of view, the conversation felt ordinary. From hers, it stood out. Meanwhile, you barely remember the interaction at all, so you assume the other person just has a great memory. But attention shapes memory. Studies show that people encode more information about individuals they find attractive because the brain treats them as more important. The memory isn't about politeness, it's about priority. So when someone recalls a detail that you didn't think mattered, it's usually because the interaction carried more weight for them than you thought. This increased attention often shows up in a friendly or interesting behavior, but among other men, it can actually produce the opposite reaction. Sign number four: people instantly respect you or compete with you. This is where the pattern becomes noticeable even without conversation. Some men naturally include you. They listen more carefully or treat you as if you're already a social, credible person. Others react with a challenge, interruptions, comparisons, or attempts to outdo you, even though nothing has actually happened. Let's look at this example. You join a group project at work where nobody really knows each other yet. Within minutes, people start looking at you when the decisions need to be made. They ask you, where should they start? What do you think? You didn't volunteer or act dominant, and you barely even spoke. But somehow you became the reference point for the group. Later, another guy challenges you more than everyone else, questioning the small things that you say that normally wouldn't matter. To you, it just feels random. But in reality, people already placed you on the social ladder before your personality had time to show. Some accepted it, others tested it, but both reactions came from the same impression. Psychological research on this subject shows that people unconsciously associate male attractiveness with competitiveness and leadership ability. So before you speak, people place you somewhere on the social hierarchy. Some accept that perceived rank and cooperate, while others resist it and compete. The reaction is not based on behavior but on presence. Yet despite these strong responses, there's one thing you surprisingly don't hear very often. Sign number 5, you rarely get direct compliments. Average looking men often hear casual compliments because the observation feels worth mentioning. But very attractive men frequently don't, since people assume it would be redundant or obvious. Research tells us that individuals avoid stating traits they believe people already know about themselves, particularly physical ones, because it can feel unnecessary or even insincere. Instead of direct compliments, people might give you indirect ones. They might say, "You seem pretty confident," or "You look like a natural leader." But nobody actually says, "You're pretty handsome." Meanwhile, you notice people are warmer, they laugh a little easier, they stand a little bit closer, and they keep conversations going longer than necessary. So you assume they must just like my personality. But if you were really average in their eyes, they wouldn't hesitate to give a normal compliment. Instead, they circle around it because saying the obvious feels awkward, like pointing out that the sky is blue. So you never hear a direct statement, and that's exactly why you never realize it. This creates a feedback gap. The lack of compliments convinces you that you must be average. Over time, you build a self-image based on silence, even though everyone around you has quietly formed a different conclusion, that you are actually handsome. Many men don't lack attractiveness, they lack accurate feedback. People respond to them differently long before anyone actually says it out loud. So if several of these experiences feel familiar to you, you are being treated like an attractive person that doesn't know it yet. Which sign have you noticed the most in your own life? Comment below. We are curious what stood out to you. And remember, keep believing in yourself, and we will see you in the next video.